In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the basic mechanics of moving money from your RRSP account to your Registered Retirement Income Fund or your RRIF account or multiple accounts. And we'll talk about the basics. I often think people have got this mastered. They know all the details around the RRSP to RRIF conversion, but I think for a lot of us, we're busy and we may not know all the details. So hopefully you'll find this presentation helpful as we go through some of the more important questions you're going to get asked. And so I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of you're walking into your financial institution's branch office or your advisor's office, and you need to be thinking about some of the questions that they're going to pose. So we'll cover off some of those key questions. When you think about it, boy, there's a lot of these conversations happening through the year, every year. If you look at 2025, over 500,000 people turned 65, which is often a period when people are looking at some of these conversations and decisions. I'll talk about why in a minute. And then people turning age 71 in 2025, it's well in excess of 400,000. Now, not all people 65 and 71, when you have to make these decisions, have RSP accounts that need to be converted to RRIFs, but a lot of people do. So it's a lot of conversations. So we're going to cover off some of those key questions. My name is Shaun Humphries. Welcome to the video. By the way, we've been doing retirement income planning for 3 decades, and we put together a little bit of a resource bundle. It's free. Just go to the show notes. There's a link to it, and you can download the resource materials to your device. Okay, you're driving to your advisor's office or your branch office of your financial institution. What should you be thinking about? Number one, think about your income. How much income do you want to take? Do you want tax withheld at source, or do you want to do that when you file your tax return? And that specifically applies to the RRIF minimum, which we'll talk about in a minute. Do you want the payments monthly or quarterly or semi-annually or annually? And there's pros and cons around each of those decisions. What about beneficiary designations? Do you want your partner or spouse, if you have a partner, as a beneficiary, or do you want them as a successor annuitant? Usually it's going to be a successor annuitant because that designation theoretically ensures that on your death, the income payment part of that plan continues without interruption. A regular beneficiary potentially can create delays in getting those income payments to the surviving partner. You also will be asked, likely, if you have kids, do you want to list them as contingent beneficiaries? Maybe not. Maybe the estate has a better option. And so that question you should pose prior to going down to the office, because there are implications in your estate planning and tax planning and ripple effects for your family, depending on which way you go in terms of contingent beneficiaries. This video is not going to cover off how to make that decision, but it's going to be one of the questions that you're going to be asked. I think even before you go to the office, you want to wrestle with, is the financial institution I'm dealing with the right home for my RRIF account? One of the things that begins happening for people when they make the conversion, it's often a time when they begin thinking about the relationships and whether it makes sense to initiate a consolidation of RSP accounts or potentially moving RSPs to one consolidated RRIF account. So it's a great time to begin exploring what are your options from a RRIF administration standpoint. Now, obviously, if you deal with your bank, your credit union, your trust company, your life and health insurance company, unless you're dealing with the full service wealth planning brokerage side of a bank branch, as an example, they're going to be talking to you about proprietary products. So their manufactured products and services, their mutual funds, savings accounts, GICs. So you have a more limited range of investment options. And most of that advice is not really true fiduciary advice. They're tied to the financial institution. They're employed by the financial institution. And that may be perfectly fine. You can get good advice in that environment. But if you're looking for more of a fiduciary best interest kind of relationship, there may be other options for you. So that's when you begin looking into fee-for-service planning options or advisors that have investment brokerage capabilities so they can handle any investment from any financial institution when they're managing your RRIF account. And some advisors will do a combination. They'll do fee-for-service financial planning and advice giving, and they'll do brokerage. And now you're moving more and more into fiduciary advice giving and brokerage advice giving, where they have much more flexibility. And what you're trying to find is a relationship where there's less conflicts of interest and the interests of you and your family are aligned with your advisor. You're working together and you don't have non-aligned, conflicted kinds of relationships. So this is a great opportunity to explore that kind of arrangement. Now, some more of the mechanics. Of course, you're not required to initiate the conversion until your 71st year. And the first payment that comes out of the account doesn't have to happen until your 72nd year. And again, you'll have to make decisions about when you want the payment coming out. Do you want monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually? I find in my experience, most people want to treat it like another pension check. So typically taking the money out on a monthly basis. Like I said, you'll need to make some decisions about tax withholding. The interesting thing about the RRIF minimum payment And that payment, if you want to know the formula, is just basically take 1 divided by 90 minus your age, apply it to the opening value at the beginning of the year of your account. That's going to set your RRIF minimum. That minimum does not have to have tax withheld. It's one of the few spots as it relates to CRA where they allow that to happen. Now, you have to pay the tax due when you file your return, but you don't have to have the tax withheld right away. Again, I find for many of our clients, they just go, Shaun, my other income sources, calculate what my withholding should be. I'd rather at the end of the year get a T4 RRIF with the gross amount and then some taxes held back than having some surprise tax bills. But everyone's different around that. But you'll have to make the decision about frequency and whether you want tax withheld. Above the RRIF minimum, the statutory requirements are on payments under 5 is 10%, 5 to 15 is 20%, over 15 is 30% withholding tax. Another thing to keep in mind, and you may know this already, if you have a partner, you can use, if your partner is younger than you can use your spouse's age in the RRIF minimum calculation. So for some people with other income sources, and they're trying to keep that income amount as low as possible from that RRIF minimum payment, by using your spouse's age in the calculation, that might reduce the income a little bit. And of course, you can have RRSPs and RRIF accounts at the same time up to your 71st year. Now, once you get into the end of your 71st year, you got to collapse all those RRSP accounts and move them into RRIF accounts. And up until that 71st year, if you have RRSP room, if it made sense, you can still make RRSP contributions. And by the way, even though you're turning 71, you can continue making contributions to your spouse's spousal RRSP. So you're trying to look for deductions. You're now in that 71st year, you're transitioning age 72, let's say you're still working, and you've got some income where you can make RSP contributions. You can still do that as long as your spouse is under the age of up to 71, and you can make a contribution to the spousal plan and deduct that on your tax return. Now, we've got some great little forecasting tools for RRIF planning. I'll just go there right now. I'll show you in our website the RRIF planning tools and how you can use it to do a little bit of number crunching on the RRIF conversion. Now, if you look at the notes below the video, you're going to find a link to our retirement planning calculators. So just click that link. It'll get you to this retirement planning section. We've got will the money last calculator, RRIF payment calculator, TFSA versus RSP, inflation and retirement income, and then there's a LIF calculator as well. So let's just take a look at the RRIF calculator. I'm going to go in, I'm going to start with 72 being the first payment year, and we'll look at age 95. And we've got, just for illustration purposes, $200,000 in this account, and we're going to use the spouse's age. In this example that I'm going to show you right now, I'm going to say no, but if you look at the switch here, so you say yes, and then you can put in the spouse's age in this particular toggle. So let's just take a look at, first we'll look at no. I'll change the return in this example to 5%, and then start payments and type of payment. So in terms of type of payment, there's the RRIF minimum. And then you can also put in a fixed payment amount, right? Because with our regular RRIF account, you can set whatever payment structure you want on the accounts. But for now, we'll look at RRIF minimum. So on $200,000, 72nd year, start the payments to age 95, 5% return. And you can see here, these are the payment amounts. At 72nd year, $10,800 is the pre-tax amount. Now keep in mind, these payments can come out without any tax held at source. But of course, you're likely to have to pay some tax when you file your tax return. This gives you the percentage withdrawal, 5.4, 5.53, 5.67, on it goes. And then there's a pretty big bump up. You can see here by the time you get to age 93, 94, we're now up to 16, almost 19%, and then 20% thereafter. So the account goes from, at 5% returns on the portfolio, 200,000 down by age 95. We're looking at a portfolio value of 57,597, and here are the payments that are coming out of the account every year. Now let's take a look at the payments. It's 10.8 is a requirement, then 10.9, 11,173. Let's take a look at, I'm going to use my spouse's age. We'll say yes to that, and we'll say my spouse is 65, quite a bit younger. Okay, let's go down and take a look at the calculations. The payment's a lot less. So talking 10 to 11,000, we're down to 8,000, 8,400, 8,800. So if you're looking for a way of trying to reduce the taxable income, because you have to RRIF it when you get into your 71st year and take the payments in your 72nd year, this is one way that you can do that. Now let's go back to the very first example. I'll say no in terms of spouse's age. And we're going to take a look at all the same illustrations, but the client goes, you know what? I know how much I need from the portfolio. Is a fixed amount, and the fixed amount, in addition to my pensions, I'm going to take out $15,000 per year. and I want that to be inflation adjusted every single year. Okay, I'll rerun the numbers. Okay, there's the payments of $15,000 per year, indexed at 2% per year. Starts at $15,000, and by age 87, it's up to $20,188. And essentially, the portfolio is pretty much fully depleted by that date. So you can see here, the start of the value is $30,933, end value is $11,262. So it's not going to run past age 88 in this example. So for many of you, you might view the RRIF account as a supplement to other pensions and government benefits. Some of you might want to look at a fixed income indexed at 2% every year. So this calculator is really handy to do some what-if scenarios on the planning. Again, you can get to this calculator by looking at the show notes. There's a link to the calculator. Now, I've talked about converting at age 71 when you have to. Would you do it before that? In fact, most people will convert at least some part of their RSP account to a RRIF account before age 71. What are some of the common reasons? One reason is you are retired and you're approaching age 65 and you want to qualify for the pension income tax credit of $2,000 of qualifying pension income every year. So you have no other sources of pension income. You can put this money into a RRIF account, pull $2,000 out, and that will qualify for the credit. So that'd be one reason. The other reason is you're looking for an opportunity to split income. So if you're 65 and you pull money out of the RRIF account, you can split upwards of 50% of that payment with your partner. For many people, that can make sense. Let's start drawing the money out. I can split it with my partner. That really brings down the tax bite on that overall income. So why wouldn't we start doing that now? So that's another reason. Another reason is to just pragmatically supplement cash flow. You need the cash flow. So with an RSP account, you can't do systematic payments. It's a manual exercise. You contact your advisor or institution. They'll initiate a redemption and they'll push that money into your bank account, and there'll be a statutory requirement for tax, right? So for RSP redemptions, there's no such thing as a RSP redemption minimum. So from $1, there'll be withholding tax. Whereas with the RRIF accounts, up to the RRIF minimum, there's no withholding tax. And that's important because if you look at the blending between the RRIF minimum and a little bit more than the RRIF minimum in terms of money coming out of the RRIF, that allows you to customize the total tax withheld a little bit more precisely. Whereas with an RSP redemption, it's a blunt redemption, and there's tax that's withheld right away. The other issue is that most people want systematic payments. So they'll move money into a RRIF account, even if it's before age 71, because they want a monthly income paid out to them. Whereas, of course, it's a manual exercise with your RSP account. And of course, for some people, they're doing it earlier because they're trying to arbitrage the tax bracket. So they look at their income. They think they might have higher income down the road because of government benefits kicking in or RRIF payments being higher. So they'll take money out earlier because they think they might be at a lower marginal tax rate. Or for some people, they might be concerned about old age security clawback levels. So they'll use the RRIF as a way of getting money out earlier. Like I said, they may default to a monthly or quarterly payment, and the RRIF is ideal for that because you can make those systematic payments from a RRIF account. Now, this next point I alluded to near the beginning of the presentation, but that's use this conversion discussion as maybe an opportunity to consider the consolidation of accounts. There's some very strong logic to account consolidation to a RRIF account as you get closer to these decisions. And a lot of it has to do with just easier administration. So when you think about it, the RSP account's about accumulation and growth, but the RRIF account's about deaccumulation and payments and withholding tax. And there's a little bit more activity that goes on with a deaccumulation account because you're always trying to strategize how much is set aside for cash and income, how much is set aside maybe for growth over time. And if you're trying to administer multiple accounts, that ends up being just a super big hassle for most people. So it's easier account administration of the income payments. It's easier administration of T-slips at tax time for sure. It's easier administration and review on investment performance. And it's just easier to administer the rebalancing and profit taking on your investment portfolio. So for a whole host of reasons, consolidation makes sense. Our bias is you should look to deal with a financial institution that gives you a full flexibility in terms of investment brokerage. You have the full range of options. It could be a discount brokerage option. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it solo, then you can have an advisor involved from their full service division. I know with our work, we've got the brokerage platform and we do a fee for service arrangement. So the client's in a fiduciary arrangement on those ongoing decisions. We don't receive any compensation on the investment side. We just charge a fee for our advice giving and managing the portfolio. Now, I also talked about Ideally, you want to do advanced planning on this decision. I think ideally 5 years in advance of when you're likely to take money and move it to a RRIF account, you want to begin doing some planning. And there's some planning conversations, we call it the runway phase, where you're beginning to do some forecasting into the future and saying, okay, when is the ideal time for me to actually RRIF? Do I default to age 71 or do it earlier? And if I do it earlier, when should I do it earlier? What will the payments be? And as you begin making those decisions, you want to begin phasing your accounts. It could start with an RSP, but gradually be ready to move to a RRIF account. Move it more and more into a portfolio structure that contemplates deaccumulation. We often talk about the timeline allocation or the 3-bucket approach, where you don't want to be doing that just a year before you take the income payments from the RRIF account. You don't want to be in a situation where the market declines 20%, we're in a bear market, and you haven't got the mechanics in place prior to that. So begin thinking about the deaccumulation, and one of the best ways of doing that is building a forecast. I'll show you some forecasting options on our website. Lots of advisors out there, our practice included, that do more comprehensive planning, and then see how we can strategically integrate the RRIF account into the overall plan. And let's do it in advance so we can get that account set up and ready to go at the ideal start point for your particular circumstances. To find out more information about financial modeling, again, there's a link back to our website. And if you enjoyed this video, you'll like the one that's coming on screen right now.